I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
Many of you have heard of Erin Patterson and a bunch of family members that died eating a meal that she cooked with some poisonous mushrooms in them.
Police say the victims showed symptoms consistent with poisoning from death cap mushrooms, but they're awaiting toxicology reports.
Another piece of the puzzle that just came to light in the last 24 hours at the recording of this video is that a food dehydrator that she used, likely for the mushrooms and other things, she actually threw away and put into the garbage dump the day after all of this happened. Here's the news piece illustrating that she openly lied to the police about that because she was afraid she would lose custody of her children.
A food dehydrator seized from the local tip is a key focus for detectives on this case. Miss Patterson initially told them she dumped it a long time ago. Now she admits that was a lie. Her statement detailing when she was speaking to ex-husband Simon, whose parents both ate the meal and died. He asked, "Is that what you used to poison them?" Worried she'd lose custody of her kids, she panicked and took it to the tip.
I'm not making a clinical diagnosis of her. I don't know her. I don't know a whole lot about her. And I'm being very careful because I have no baseline to work with. For those of you who are familiar with body language, a baseline is one of the most important things to have to establish when differences happen. We don't have that with her. So I'm going to go off some basic observations inherent in most people.
It's a tragedy what's happened.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I'm sorry.
Now, this first clip, I want you to pay attention to some classic things that are happening here. You'll notice that she is using distancing language when she's talking about things that have happened. Nowhere in this video will you even once see her take responsibility for actually doing anything. When she expresses remorse or being sorry, it's always sorry about what has happened to these people, but it's clearly putting herself at a distance from being in any way responsible for it. You'll notice you see a lot of eye rubbing. This is part of what we call eye blocking. Anything that blocks the eyes from being able to be seen clearly is called eye blocking. It's a way to insulate yourself from having direct eye contact with people or in any way feeling responsible to reply to things in a fully truthful manner. Again, we don't know if she's lying. I'm just telling you basic things that are common in all body language.
It's a tragedy what's happened.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I'm sorry.
Notice, even though she's showing some of the outward effects of crying, there's a couple things that are missing. I want you to pay attention to this. There are no tears. She's trying to generate them, but there are no tears. In addition to that, there's no mucus and there's nothing running from the nose. And whenever you cry, generally speaking, your tears come because your eyes are watering up, and generally a part of that comes with it are pluggage of the nose or a running of the nose or some type of a mucus that forms and begins to expel through the nose. You're seeing none of that.
Devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Don. Don is still in hospital. The loss of Ian and Heather and Gail. They were some of the best people that I've ever met. Gail was like...
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Can you tell us
and the loss to the community and to the families and to my own children who've lost their grandmother.
You'll notice that she then takes off her glasses, and this is to expose her face so that if tears will come, you will be able to see them very clearly, but they don't come. And then notice in this next clip how she has to close her eyes to get her story straight.
Can you tell us a bit more about the lunch?
What I can tell you is that I just can't fathom what has happened.
Another thing I want you to pay attention to here is that her forehead is perfectly smooth. And one thing that you can usually count on in human nature is that anytime that there is stress or anxiety at this level, you see a furrowing of the brow, you see a wrinkling of the forehead, and you see a contraction of the muscle in between your eyebrows called the glabella. And whenever you have a stress or anxiety, it's either something you disagree with or something you're upset about. Normally speaking, the glabella takes over. It's not something that you can usually flex on your own. It's something that your brain does, and it draws your eyebrows closer together. You see none of that here.
I just can't fathom what has happened. That Ian and Heather have lost their lives, and Gail has lost her life, and Donna's still in hospital, and I pray that he pulls through.
She does not take responsibility for anything. She says that she can't believe what has happened, that they have lost their lives. That is completely what's called distancing. She's distancing herself from any responsibility for these deaths. She's very sorry, and she cannot believe that they have lost their lives. It takes her completely out of the responsibility area. So listen back, knowing that. Listen to this clip one more time.
I just can't fathom what has happened. That Ian and Heather have lost their lives, and Gail has lost her life, and Donna's still in hospital, and I pray that he pulls through.
Now you notice in this next clip, you will see her eye blocking move from looking down and pushing her hands in front of her face and simply closing her eyes. Now, as that sort of wears on her psyche, she comes up with a new plan here. This happens very regularly when people are under great amounts of stress. They need to do something with their eyes to not look at the person that's speaking to them. So she's going to cast her eyes up. This is going to give her something else now to focus on that's not making eye contact with the very people that are asking her the questions.
Because my children love him.
And you must be pretty shaken up by this as well.
I'm devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives.
And again, she's devastated. She can't believe this has happened. And she's very sorry, ... that they have lost their lives.
That they have lost their lives.
Not that I made a meal and the toxicology reports are coming back saying that they died from what looks like poisoning from the specific kind of mushroom that I gave them. There's none of that. I'm very, very sorry. I'm heavily impacted. I feel terrible. I am very sorry, ... that they have lost their lives. It's putting the direct responsibility on the people who have passed.
I just can't believe it. Just can't believe it.
And now you're going to see when they ask her, can you tell us where the mushrooms came from? She is out of options. She can no longer stand there rubbing her eyes. That's not doing anything. There's no tears coming. She can no longer stand there staring at the sky because that is going to seem strange after a few minutes. So she changes tactics. And now she walks around the car and she begins to check all the doors on the car until she comes around to the final door to grab a bag of groceries.
Can you tell us where the mushrooms came from?
And during this, you will hear her crying so that people can hear her. The only problem is, again, all the pieces that go with crying aren't happening for her.
Were they picked from the property area?
I just ask him to leave me alone now, please.
Police say you're a suspect. Do you have anything to say about
Yes,
that?
I say I didn't do anything. I love them.
So the minute they say, the police say you are a suspect, everything freezes. And they ask her if she has anything to say. Yes, I didn't do anything. I loved them.
Police say you're a suspect. Do you have anything to say about
Yes,
that?
I say I didn't do anything. I love them.
Again, she's pushing across the narrative that if you love somebody, you would never do anything to hurt them. And this is understandable because to a normal person, this would make perfect sense.
And I'm devastated that they're gone. And I hope with every fibre of my being that Don pulls through.
Again, showing herself as being impacted and herself as being a victim here, she is devastated. She never once says, I'm sure that everyone else is devastated. It's always me, I am devastated. I cannot believe this is happening. I am devastated. I can't believe that they are gone.
That's
Where
what I
do the
have to
mushrooms
say.
come from? Were they picked by you, or where did they come from, Erin? Can you tell us? What meal did you cook them? Did you eat the same meal, Erin?
I will continue to keep you updated as this progresses. As more information comes in, I will make videos, hopefully illustrating a little bit more information as more information becomes available. So I thank you for watching, and I would ask if you would check out one of these other videos that I put on the screen for you. There's lots of other great body language videos available on this channel. See you next time.